Welcome to the Never Too Early Fantasy Football Podcast, where it is never too early for fantasy football. My name is Jeff.
And I'm Alex.
As always, thank you for downloading, listening, liking, and commenting on our podcast videos. Please join our community by subscribing to us on the socials. Our handle on all platforms is at N2Fantasy. We're also available on all major podcasting apps by searching N2 Fantasy. Alex, what do we have on today's show?
On this episode of the Never Too Early Fantasy Football Podcast, we are covering the latest league news and we are going to recap a little bit of the week one preseason action. So we finally got a full week of preseason in. We'll talk about some highlights out of the games, what we've gleaned, any concerns, injuries, projected changes maybe, whatever we want to talk about from these matchups. But first, Jeff, we've got big news. A free agent wide receiver finally signed.
Yes, well, it's a reunion of sorts. And the Chargers reunite with wide receiver Keenan Allen on a one-year deal after a one-year absence. What are your thoughts on this reunion?
Well, I've been saying all along that he wanted to go to Los Angeles or Chicago, and those are the only two areas he was considering. So it makes sense to me. Jeff and I were on the verge of doing a Quentin Johnston versus Trey Harris bet, and then the news started leaking that they were meeting with him. So I'm like, we should probably hold off because if he signs there, it's gonna tank that. He's probably wide receiver 2. What do you think?
So he's definitely wide receiver 2 for the team. And then if we're talking about fantasy, which we all love to talk about here on the podcast, Fantasy Football, he's going to this upcoming year. And I think that bumps down Quentin Johnston to the 3, and then Trey Harris is a situational player here. So, all right. What are your thoughts on where he lands fantasy wise?
Well, I think for the Chargers, he's the wide receiver 2 for fantasy. He might be able to be in the wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 conversation. If he's still going in redraft leagues like round 10 to 12, he might be quite a steal.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, the other LA team, the Los Angeles Rams, extended Kyron Williams with a new 3-year extension, ending all talk about potentially him losing his starting job to Blake Corum or to the new running back this year as well.
Yeah, absolutely. What does this say for all of the hate that Kyron Williams has gotten from certain fantasy players, saying the Rams have drafted running backs the last couple of years? Do you think this cements Kyron Williams as a top back for years to come, or do you think
For the next, yeah, I think he's for at least the next 2 years, he's going to still be considered a top back unless he all of a sudden drops off a cliff. But it certainly puts a damper on Jarquez Hunter, who's the back I was trying to think of, and Blake Corum. I did think, we'll talk about it later, but I did think Blake Corum showed signs of life this offseason. So I would hope that they don't do the 90% or whatever usage they were doing with Kyron Williams last year. Scale back a little bit to keep him fresh, but he's going to be the starter, and he's going to be a good back this year.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know where that leaves their rookie Hunter, right? And in Corum in fantasy, but last year we did think Corum would take a huge chunk of carries, and that didn't really live up to what we had thought. So we will see. Great. But, Alex, we need to hop over to the next running back here because he's in a different situation, similar but different situation than Kyron Williams was. And when I'm talking about the Bills running back, James Cook here. And he apparently is staging a hold-in with the Buffalo Bills. There is hope for a new deal, and that's kind of come to recent light as the week has went on. So it does appear that they may be getting closer to a new deal to get James Cook fully on the field.
I think he is close to ending it, and he already showed back up. And I want to say, I'm not 100% sure. you might know more since it's local for you, but I think he actually practiced. So
Yeah.
I think he knows after that Kyron Williams deal, he's not going to get the money he wants, but he might be able to get more than Kyron Williams because, more
Next
explosive
one up.
players typically get paid more.
And the next one up.
Yep, that as well.
But to your point, yes, he did practice today. No, that's what I was alluding to here, the hope on the new deal. Because I believe Sean McDermott's words today was things have changed. So I don't know. I don't see Cook just giving up his fight for his deal. So I see a deal coming here, to be honest. And I don't see the coach saying things have changed and like kind of rubbing it into Cook as well. So to see a new deal coming in order to keep this player happy.
Yeah. They're going to give him a decent amount of money, but he has now realized that he's not going to get the same as Saquon Barkley.
Right. Absolutely. All right. We'll see how long the Holden lasts. We still have McLaurin on Holden as well. I know he requested a trade, and obviously Mike Parsons too, if we want to talk defense. But as camps go on, we mentioned last week that the PUP and NFI lists are something that players can be activated at any time. Since our last episode, the Texans have activated running back Dameon Pierce off the PUP list. And that's the only major activation that I remember right now.
Yeah. We just talk about that running back group real quick because we have no news on Mixon's foot injury other than they hope that he's back for week 1. We have Dameon Pierce coming back, and all reports say he's in the best shape of his life. He's the fastest they've ever seen him. And then we have Nick Chubb, who we didn't know had a concussion coming back from a, a concussion and getting cleared from that. So it's been interesting monitoring the top 3 backs going into the season for the Texans. But Dameon Pierce and Nick Chubb are probably competing for one roster role. It's going to be very interesting how it plays out because Chubb has the $1 million guarantee, but has looked very sluggish compared to all of the other backs out there. Meanwhile, Dameon Pierce also plays special teams as well as finally this is an offensive scheme that fits his strengths as opposed to what Bobby Slowick was putting out there the last 2 years. It's going to be something to monitor as well.
Yeah, I will always argue with you on this here. Chubb is the veteran, and there is a chance that the Texans are like, you're going to go into week 1 the starter. We want you to run reps 75%, not 100%, because we want you to be fully healthy going into the season. And we discount that because he looks sluggish in practice, and he might be told to look sluggish in practice because of practice, and he needs his body for every single touch that he's going to get this year.
I don't know. All of the Texans reporters, they all say, I don't know how Nick Chubb is going to beat out these young guys on this roster. The Texans love Dare Ogunbowale, and they just really love him. And he actually did pretty solid in preseason. They drafted Wood. They also have Mixon, who's their clear number 1 when healthy. Pierce
That last little bit is very telling
looks
when healthy.
Pierce is younger, faster, plays special teams. I just don't know how Nick Chubb beats any of those guys out unless he starts performing.
And you don't know what he's being told as a directive though going into practice, as he might be the week 1 starter, as I'm saying right now. Like, there's a reason why you don't see certain running backs run in the preseason. Like, I don't think we'll see Kyron Williams and in the
I don't
preseason.
know, man.
Fully healthy.
It might be Woody Marks. It might be Woody Marks soon.
Yeah,
Who knows?
we'll see. Don't you have like a Jawar Johnson or something like that too, or
Yeah, Jawar Jordan.
Jordan?
He's had some really good weeks of camp.
It'll be interesting.
He's cool. He's cooled off the past couple days, but I mean he's pretty solid.
Absolutely. And we don't, I mean, the other thing we don't know on camp days is we don't know what coaches are telling players to work on. And it might make them look differently that day because they're concentrating on a foot. Like, instead of going left, right, left, they might be told to go right, left, right. And that might be the one thing they're concentrating on. They might have a bad camp day. To us, but to them and to the coaches, they're like, "You've got your footwork done. Now we got to work on the concentration part again." We don't know specifics of each day, so it'll be interesting when we get to cuts and trades. Obviously, there's teams that need running backs now with the injuries that we'll get to shortly.
All right. What about suspensions, Jeff? So far, we haven't heard anything about Rashee Rice suspension, but we did hear about Jordan Addison.
We did, and we also have not heard about Demarcus Robinson, who's expected to get a suspension for the 49ers. So we have and then Judkins. We have Judkins we're waiting suspension for, but we did get one, as Alex said. It is the Vikings wide receiver Jordan Addison. He receives the 3-game suspension that we had expected, that I had baked into my projections and rankings already. For Rice, I have a 4-game suspension, and for Demarcus Robinson, I have a 3-game suspension already keyed into the projection. So I know Alex and I have had a little bit of a debate this week on Rashee Rice's length of suspension, but that's totally up to the NFL at this point. But Jordan Addison gets the standard 3-game driving under the influence suspension. Alex, what are your thoughts here?
Well, first of all, Jeff and I are master debaters. That's an old joke, and it's also a current South Park reference.
It is.
Anyway,
Great episode.
I think 3 games is about right for Jordan Addison because he didn't hurt anybody, luckily, fortunately for him. But I do think, one, it's going to affect his totals for the season, obviously. And two, I don't think the Vikings offense is going to be very pass heavy this year unless they get behind. So I'm definitely fading him
Yeah, I have no
a
idea what
lot
that
this
team's
year.
going to be like with JJ behind the helm this year. After a year off, what does his passing skills look like? What does his passing offense look like at this point?
I think he's going to be closer to Justin Fields than you would like. So, number 1 target and then tight end and then run. I think those are going to be what the offense is for this year.
Well, do you think his knee injuries hamper his rushing ability at all?
Probably not too much, but what it does do is give him an injury risk more than your average starting quarterback this year.
All right. Let's hop over to the injuries that I had just alluded to. And a lot of it is in the AFC East, unfortunately. And the first one here is Jets rookie tight end Mason Taylor. He has a high ankle sprain. I would anticipate him being ready for the start of the regular season. I just don't know how up to speed he'll be with the Jets offense. Alex, what are your takes here on Mason Taylor?
I like him long term as a potentially good tight end in the league. I never really thought he would take off right away. So I think this is putting a damper on the dynasty expectations of him right away. We have to see what this Jets offense is. I think it's going to be primarily a rushing offense more so than passing, and typically Justin Fields doesn't really support a lot of pass catchers, but when he does support them, it's usually his number 1 wide receiver and a tight end. So if Mason Taylor wins that starting job, he could be a value later into the year as he gets going.
Yeah, I do. I think this makes him a little less likely to win the starting job, at least out of the gate. We'll see if that's true or false at this point, but historically that has been the case. Moving on to the same injury, same division, but different player in position, and that's wide receiver Khalil Shakir for the Buffalo Bills has a high ankle sprain as well. I think his is a little less damaging just due to the fact that he already has rapport with Josh Allen. He's played 2 years with Josh Allen. Entering year 3, I don't know how much he could really get with Josh Allen in camp. Josh Allen already knows what he has. The only goal here is to have him healthy and ready week 1. And it did seem like he was doing some things off to the side already in camp. So he's working his way back already from this high ankle sprain. I do expect him ready for week 1. Are you adjusting any of your ranks for him here?
No, not really. I will say this definitely gives Josh Allen more of a chance to connect with the other 27 wide receivers on this roster.
Yeah, that's important too because he does have some new faces, especially Josh Palmer, who did seem like he
Elijah
was.
Moore.
Yeah, that too. But Josh Palmer does seem like he was targeted a lot in the preseason game this week, even though Josh Allen didn't start and a lot of the starters didn't start. But it does seem like they're working on timing and chemistry and playbook with him still. So it does seem like that was important. I don't know if you also saw in that. Did you catch any of the Giants Bills game?
I watched everything after I record all the preseason games. So whenever it's available to me, I actually watch it and zip through all the commercials. So I did. I really liked the young quarterback out there for the Giants. I really liked Mr. Dart, Mr. Jackson Dart a lot.
Yeah, I would agree with that, but I was only asking because I believe LaVisca Chenault and KJ Hamler, two of my wide receiver darlings, both scored touchdowns in that game. So I don't think I
Well,
don't
they're
think
probably,
either make the Bills, to be honest.
well, they might be competing for one roster spot, but
And that would go to LaVisca for kick return purposes. But KJ Hamler was a second rounder from Denver like 4 years ago, and he had a heart condition, and Denver had to cut him, and he hasn't been the same since. I just find it hard to believe that there wasn't any value in a second rounder out there. But I guess stranger things have happened. And anything more on the Bills core before we move on to the Dolphins here?
no, I mean, at some point we can mention the voodoo that's happening with San Francisco's running back core, but we can talk about that later.
Yeah, a lot of those didn't happen in the preseason games. They happened in camp and kind of are under the radar. And I don't know how major or minor any of the injuries are at 49ers camp because they are very secretive.
Didn't they put two different guys on IR? They put Amir Abdullah after recently signing him on IR.
Disappointing, man. After last year.
Yeah. I think you remember when Christian McCaffrey disappeared last year to rehab and recover?
Yep.
I think he found some witchcraft over in Europe to sacrifice all of his teammates so he doesn't get hurt.
Yeah, it seems like they really could have used Jordan Mason now, doesn't it? Because they're signing Jeff Wilson back and
Well,
retreads.
he could have gotten hurt, and then they would have paid him millions of dollars to not play.
Yep. And speaking of running back injuries, the Dolphins also lost running back Alexander Madison, who they had signed earlier this offseason. He has a neck injury, and his season is over before it begins. So he will have been a Dolphin, but probably never played a snap for them.
Yeah, I'm not sure he would have played a snap for them in the regular season anyway, even if he was healthy. I think Achan, Wright, and now Ollie Gordon probably were going to be ahead of him anyway.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Obviously, as we learned with San Francisco, though, injuries can happen, so it's good to have some depth and options back there. But another injury, kind of like Shakir's a second ago, and we're going to move over to the NFC North where our last two injuries are. Quarterback Jordan Love had thumb surgery, but he should be ready for week 1. It was on his non-throwing thumb. So any movement down here for Jordan Love because of the thumb surgery?
No, I'm just not high on Jordan Love to begin with, and that whole wide receiver group too. The whole passing crew is pretty banged up.
That's why there's 95 of
So,
them.
but they made Malik Willis look really good in relief of Jordan Love last year. So Malik Willis has been doing pretty good in camp so far.
Absolutely. And we'll get to Jordan Love's preseason performance. I think that he was really missing a running game this week, but we'll get into that a little bit more later. And then in a preseason game this past weekend, the Vikings wide receiver Rondell Moore, he had just signed with them in the offseason as well, and will have been a Falcon and a Viking and never played a snap with them. In case anyone has a trivia question later in life. But he has a season-ending knee injury for the second time in 2 seasons, and he was placed on the IR to end his season officially. I don't believe there'll be a buyout here, so this will probably be the last time for a while that we talk about Rondell Moore.
It's pretty sad because I feel like he could have competed with Naylor, beat out Naylor for the wide receiver 3 job there.
They were going to have a pretty
Although
deep
I know they
receiver
did.
core, though. One of the deepest in the league.
Well, Jeff and I were arguing about this offline, but you didn't even mention Kai Felton. I think Kai Felton is actually probably better than Naylor and maybe Rondale, and you didn't even mention him.
Yeah, that's how deep they are. I haven't even got to people I haven't mentioned yet, but he moved up in my rankings today. Felton did as well as Naylor.
I don't think Naylor is that good. I just can't see it with him. I'll ask my Viking fan buddy what he thinks of Naylor.
Do you have a friend from every team group?
I don't think I have a 49ers friend or a
Really?
Jets friend.
Those are pretty easy to find around here.
Jets maybe, but 40.
Could create our own beat writers, but just our friends. I have Jet fans, Giant fans, Bills fans, of course. I have Patriots fans.
Eagles.
Yep.
Y'all are all compact in one area up there.
I know Baltimore fans. I don't know any Texans. Oh, I know you, Texans fan. So, yep, got that covered. I feel like I know somebody from every team.
Steelers, Browns.
Yep, got all
Aren't
those
like
Browns.
half the teams all in one segment of the country, one small little area?
That is true. I know 49ers fans. I actually know people living in Rochester that have 49ers season tickets just to go to one game a year.
That's insane to me.
They sell the other ones that pays for their one trip a year out there.
That's an interesting investment.
I know. Self-funded trip. Now you're thinking, like, how do I do this?
I bet there's a good segment of Steelers fans that do that.
Well, you just got to have the team playing the Steelers because their crowd tends to travel. All right, that does wrap up our injury portion. But speaking of travel, teams are finally on the move in the preseason. We have all 32 teams have a game in the books now. I know you might be able to argue the Falcons and Lions ended before there was a contest, but all the rest of them actually have a win and loss in the column. But the Colts versus the Ravens was the first matchup of the week, and Alex, we were very interested to see what Anthony Richardson was going to look like versus Daniel Jones in that legendary quarterback battle of the Indianapolis Colts. This is like Montana and Young all over again. But in all seriousness, Anthony Richardson got the start. He played 2 series before he dislocated his pinky on his throwing arm in a pretty gruesome fashion, and he was pulled, and they're now having to reevaluate the whole evaluation process because of Anthony Richardson getting injured yet again. He's already back at practice, but obviously Daniel Jones got a little more work in that game than was planned. Thoughts on that one, Alex, and where that quarterback battle stands?
I thought he was playing okay before he missed the blitz and protections and got blasted and dislocated his finger. It definitely looked like it was broken. And then all of a sudden, it's just a dislocation. He's on the sidelines. They're like, he could have thrown if we wanted him to. So that was interesting.
Is my finger okay? It's going every which way.
Do you know who Brian Baldinger is?
No.
He's a NFL analyst who used to be, I think, an offensive lineman, and he has like a jacked up finger that like goes
Bunch of
like that.
receivers do.
Mm.
Bunch of receivers just from catching balls and breaking fingers catching balls.
But I thought Daniel Jones was terrible, terrible. Like Daniel Jones was arguably worse than Anthony Richardson, and that's been my criticism of the Colts signing Daniel Jones in the first place is they got the least threatening backup they could that played somewhat similar to Anthony Richardson. And I really feel like they could have gone after Kirk Cousins instead of the Falcons. They could have gone after Flacco and brought him back. Like both of those guys being as old as they are better than Daniel Jones, and even Aaron Rodgers would have been better than Daniel Jones, and it would have been a better offense fit for Aaron Rodgers.
No, I agree with that. Anthony Richardson has to be on thin ice, though, with his Colt career. Daniel Jones may never get a Colt career, but Anthony Richardson has to be on thin ice at this point.
The thing is, he's just 23, you know? It's like another Trey Lance situation. Like, he may have to bounce around from team to team to finally have a real spark, but
Yeah, I don't know if organization, like let's use Indy in this particular scenario, I don't know if a team can justify needing 5 years to get return on their investment in their top 10 pick or 6 years to get investment back on it. And people want investment within the first 2.5 years, 3 years at the most.
well, that's what it used to be like 10, 15 years ago. You used to develop a guy and it used to take a while. People used to be patient, and now everyone wants a record setting rookie season, I should say.
Yeah, Alex, we live in a universe where your phone is just happens to be right next to you at all times and instant gratification. So
Yep.
it's only going to get worse, not better. But as you'd mentioned,
Yep.
Trey Lance has been pretty positive with the Chargers this year. All right, the only observation that I had for the Ravens side of the ball was Keaton Mitchell. He looked like an excellent change of pace back. Unclear though of how many snaps that he'll get this season, considering Henry will be the lead back, get the majority of the carries. I don't expect him to be playing from behind a lot, so they'll be winding out games, and I don't picture Keaton Mitchell or Justice Hill as a ground and pound back to run out the clock. But Hill didn't play, so that could mean that Justice Hill is still ahead of Keaton Mitchell right now, but I did notice his burst and his home run ability this past game. It was very noticeable against the Colts. Anything
Yes,
else
it
you
was.
noticed,
He looks
Raveny?
Braveny. No, Keaton Mitchell looked great, but a couple of notes for the Colts. I thought Tyler Warren and AD Mitchell looked pretty good in the limited amount they got used. So I think those are definitely guys to watch this preseason and see. They're both going to be regular focuses to the offense.
Yeah, especially when Pittman gets traded, right?
I think they absolutely could trade Pittman, and I think if they want to upgrade a quarterback, Pittman for Kirk Cousins would be interesting because that would solve some salary cap wiggle room for both of them.
It could. But haven't I seen that movie before where the Colts have traded for a Falcons old veteran quarterback that they're moving on from?
I think Kirk Cousins has more to him than Matt Ryan did.
They also tried that with Philip Rivers. They've tried their slew of old quarterbacks. That's why they went with the 21-year-old Richardson. They went with the youngest quarterback they could find.
And that didn't work. So they've got to try something. They've got to go for who's available. I mean, ultimately, I think if Flacco becomes available, that will be a low cost move bring him back because he already knows the system.
Yeah, I just don't see the Browns moving off their plan to start Joe Flacco week 1 at this point.
Well, they have 5 quarterbacks. One of them, Huntley, is going to get cut at some point. But, I mean, they could go with Pickett and Sanders and Gabriel as well.
Absolutely. But I think it's time to hop over to the Bengals and the Eagles. Some notable takeaways for me in this game is for the Bengals side, it looks like Ritter outperformed Browning in this game, which is interesting for the Bengals backup job. I don't know how wide open that is, considering Browning's done well in the past, but Ritter is a higher prospect. I think he was the first quarterback taken in his draft class, or one of the first quarterbacks in his draft class. I don't think that was a memorable quarterback draft class, but memorable quarterbacks. So we have Joe Burrow and him and Chase playing some hot ball right off the preseason. They're going to get this runway going. They are notorious for starting very slow, so it's important that they get this chemistry and this gel going into the regular season this time. And it does appear that Chase Brown, not Chris Brown's an old running back. Chase Brown's job is secure so far with 48 yards on 8 touches. And then Taj Brooks does 27 yards on 11 touches. So I think his job is safe right now. But I know, Alex, Taj Brooks is one of your favorites, and I'll let me know any more about the Eagles or Bengals side of the ball here.
Well, I think for the Eagles, Tanner McKee looked amazing in this one. He looked like a legitimate starting caliber quarterback. He did have a couple sacks taken in this one. Kyle McCord, however, did not have a good preseason game. He is the rookie, so I don't expect that much from him right now, but Tanner McKee looks better as a backup than some teams' starting quarterbacks to this point. Will Shipley, I think, is the bona fide number 2 running back behind Saquon Barkley. And if anything happens to Saquon Barkley, I think that Philadelphia trusts Will Shipley to be the lead back for them. So I would be snapping up Will Shipley, especially with historically running backs who get as many carries as Saquon did last year typically disappoint the following year dramatically. So I think injuries are on the table and regressions on the table for Saquon. I would be looking hard at Will Shipley as a dart throw, especially in redrafts this year. Receiving wise, your boy, Mr. Tall Man, Johnny Wilson, had a good game with 3 really good long catches. I thought that the Bengals looked pretty good first team offense, and that's nice to see, especially going with it against a team like the Eagles, even with some backups out there. It's still a well coached team with a good defense. I'm not too worried about overreacting to stuff like Taj Brooks not getting big plays because he's more of a bruiser than Chase Brown being more of a scat guy. And it's the Eagles defense. Their D line is pretty tough. I think Brooks will get more into the hang of it as we go along, but I do think he's cemented being the number 2 back behind Chase Brown going forward.
Not our buddy P. Ryan?
I think P. Ryan is a pass down specialist and special teams player. I don't really think he's a serious threat to perform.
Gotcha. Great. We can hop over to the Raiders and the Seahawks. Alex, what did you think in Genty's first NFL start?
Well, I think that according to Jeff's brain, he's on pace to 300 carries for negative 100 yards for the season. But according to anyone who knows preseason and knows this was just first touch, first dip of the toe in the water of the NFL, he was out there for like 1 or 2 series max, and they don't want him to get hurt. I think they'll refine their pass blocking, and their run blocking, and I think that he will do better next time. So I'm not really worried about it in the slightest. And I do think Seattle has a well coached team and continuity over their defense. I do think that Seattle looked better basically on every front in this game until the fourth quarter. What I'm most impressed with is actually Seattle's fullback, George Holani, who I think was a Boise State teammate of Ashton Genty. He came out of nowhere and looks good in the passing game and as a rusher. I think Seattle's loaded at running backs. We've got Walker, they've got Charbonnet, they've got Holani, and Damian Martinez. So I think they're 4 deep there, and George Holani could be a Kyle Juszczyk type fullback, H-back kind of player.
Yeah, someone that people could store back in their back of their brains for those Bimageddons and massive running back injuries. You never know. You could get a use check performance here or there.
Yeah, and from the wide receiver group, I really liked Torrey Horton, what he did in the preseason, and everything we're hearing in camp is just positives about this guy. So I really like his upside a lot. Elijah Arroyo, it's nice to see him involved a little bit, but didn't really do much this preseason, this game at least.
Absolutely. My only note for the Seahawks, because they played mostly backups in this game, which made Genty's performance even more startling, that they're playing backups the entire game. But could Drew Lock be a trade candidate to be some team's backup?
I didn't think Drew Lock was that good, honestly. I think Drew Lock is in danger of getting beat out by Jalen Milroe as the number 2.
Well, that's why I think he
And
should be someone's unquestioned number 2, though. I think he's one of the top
I don't think
64
there's
quarterbacks in the league.
what team could he go to where he would be the unquestioned number 2?
Well, you keep getting Kirk Cousins off of the Falcons, and then they have no backup quarterback whatsoever. That's a veteran behind Penix. That's one spot. Could use a quarterback. Tyrod's already
If
hurt,
they,
so the Jets could use a
yeah,
quarterback.
I don't know. I don't think Drew Lock's ever going to be anything.
No, but he
I
should be
don't
someone's
understand.
unquestioned backup at this point.
Yeah, we'll see about that. I will also say for the Raiders receiving, as much as people talk up Dante Thornton Jr., while he did have one nice catch, didn't really do much outside of that, and neither did Jack Betch or Trey Tucker. So I think the Raiders just overall played bad as a team.
Yeah, absolutely. Gino wasn't particularly impressive in this, and he also had a spat with a fan. There's some questions already there with that relationship, at least with him and the fan base, and the coaches even having to talk about that. So will be interesting to see what happens going forward in Vegas.
Well, it was a Seattle fan, and then Pete Carroll's the one that walked up to the guy with the sign.
So it wasn't Gino that was giving him the double bird?
Maybe he gave him the double bird, but Pete Carroll's the one who went over and talked to the fan.
Yeah.
It was a Seattle fan that had a sign that said Geno Smith is a bust or something along those lines.
It was perfect. Got under his skin, didn't it? A lot of times they're just there to rattle the other team.
What's crazy is it looked like he was a really old guy that just
Someone probably
thought the
paid him.
fan would know better.
Yeah. Right. So we can leave that game behind and hop over to the Patriots and the Commanders. I think Drake May had a really good game and is poised for a big year. And Henderson looked good for the Patriots and could challenge Stevenson in year one. And it's more likely after his thoughts from this game.
As far as the Patriots, pretty much the same. Like Drake May played limited snaps, but looks good in them. They mostly played relatively conservative with him just handing the ball off, and then he ran in for a touchdown as well. Stevenson's the lead back as of right now, and probably for the foreseeable future, barring a fumbling problem or an injury. Gibson came in as the third running back. Henderson looks like he's already the second running back. He also did really good on that return. First touch ever, 100-yard touchdown return. The receivers, I mean, they don't really stand out to me that much at this point. Very few of the starting receivers really were involved in this one at all. I'd like to see what he looks like with Diggs. Hopefully, at some point this preseason, like to see more Kyle Williams and see who comes in as the third wide receiver. As far as the Commanders, the only real positive for me there was seeing Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, and I'd like to see him play earlier in the game, but he looks pretty good to me. Michael Gallup actually was okay in this game. I wonder if he could end up being the wide receiver 3 for this team
Did
if things
Dotson
go
play?
well. What now?
Did Dotson play? Because I think Dotson got traded last year. Um,
Dotson's on the Eagles.
yeah, I'm a year behind. All right, so yeah, Gallup after a year off could be the wide receiver 3 for this team. But McLaurin and Debo, you think have locked down the first two?
McLaurin, if he signs a contract. Debo, I don't really know what to make of Debo because he gained weight like James Harden gained weight in the NBA. So I don't know if he's going to be quick.
I
I don't
still
know if
like
he's going to
KJ
be.
Osborne as well.
I mean, he's someone people always say is going to take off and doesn't. So I don't know, man.
Yeah, so
I
I
don't
just
know.
think he's going to be competing with Gallup, but I think McLaurin will be there week one, regardless of his kit.
And then there's also guys like Jalen Lane and Luke McCaffrey who might be dark horses to earn that wide receiver 3 job as well.
That's true. We got Luke. A lot of people. I still can't believe they traded Dotson to the Eagles last year. See, that's like a trauma block.
He might not do anything at all, so they might have actually won that trade.
It's true. It's true. It's just that you know how I fight about the interdivision trade. I'm like, they don't happen. But I guess in this case, it did happen. All right. I guess we can hop over to the game that was stopped because a player got hurt, but it's the Lions and the Falcons. No notables played in this game, so pretty much all backups. And the Lions backup quarterbacks look better this week, especially Kyle Allen. And I guess that poses the question, was the defense that they played last week just that much better? Or is the Falcons' defense in this much trouble where their depth and their backups kind of look like this?
Or did Detroit make adjustments? I mean, I feel like that's an option as well.
Yeah.
But I take offense to, or exception to you saying no notables played in this game when Mr. Isaac Tesla was out there giving it his heart and soul, blocking people into oblivion and catching a touchdown pass. I wish that they played the full game out because I really liked what I saw in limited action from Isaac Tesla. He looks like, I know someone in one of our leagues suggested he's the next Puka Nakua. Watching him in that game definitely had flavors of Puka Nakua. Just Puka Nakua doing the dirty work and like blocking someone and then getting yak after a catch, coming across the middle, getting a tough grab. That to me, I really like. I like a lot. So I think Tesla, with how aggressive they were to move up to take him in the draft, I think he is someone that should be the wide receiver 3 for them this year and might take over at wide receiver 2 if they don't want to pay Jameson Williams. Because they have a lot of guys they're going to have to pay, and they can't pay everybody.
I could see that, yeah. He scores, he played well, but he's very clearly playing with the backups right now. So it's not like he's in the starting sitting spot right now.
He's a rookie, and it's preseason game 1. I mean, other rookies are getting the same treatment.
It's game 2 for him, buddy. Game 2.
That's right. They get that extra game.
They definitely got the extra game. He did look good in both games, but we'll see when the season hits and what the coaching staff thinks of him. We'll see if he moves up. I'm assuming Goff and the starting offense will get some time in the preseason, especially considering the new coordinator situation. I think that would be
All
weird
right,
if
I
they got
have
none.
pretty much nothing positive to say about the Falcons.
Okay. All right. I mean, they didn't play anybody of note, so it's not even really worth discussing them. But
Yeah.
we can hop over to the Browns and the Panthers. I did watch this entire game live because it was actually on live. But my takeaways from this is the Panthers did put on a nice drive with the starters. The second drive was really nice with a Young to Coker touchdown. And Coker, from all things that I hear in camp, is pressing to make that starting lineup. Like, do I know if he'll make the top 3 receivers on this team? I don't know, but he's pressing really hard in camp to make that spot. And Bryce Young looked like the end of the year last year, Bryce Young, so that's pretty amazing as a Panthers fan to have some hope each week now because he's actually playing a lot looser. I don't know if you noticed that as well. But I'll let you wrap up the Panthers and Bryce Young, and then you could get us kicked off with your buddy, with your favorite player in the league right now.
I think Tat McMillan looked like he has glimpses of being a legitimate wide receiver early on. And you and I talked about this offline. I don't know whether he is like a legitimate wide receiver 2 in the role of a wide receiver 1 on this offense, or if he is potentially an actual wide receiver 1 for the Panthers. But he looks like a very good wide receiver and looks like he's ready to play out the gates. Coker, Jimmy Horn, those two are going to be interesting to watch, as well as whether Leggett is going to finally do something and develop. And then you also have the 2 vets, Thielen and Renfro. Are they going to be involved going forward? I'm very curious. Mitchell Evans, the rookie tight end, got 1 catch here, and then I think was Jatavian Sanders. He might have been out this game. That's going to be a battle that I'm interested in. Who starts out of that group going forward out of this? But for the Browns, someone who didn't do well, in my opinion, was Deontay Johnson because he had a couple bad drops. I know one ball was slightly off target from Sanders, but it still hit him in the hands and he should have caught it. And for someone who's bounced around, been on 5 different teams or changed teams 4 or 5 times over the last 2 years, like he needs to stabilize himself if he wants to catch on to a roster. I will come down to Shador Sanders. I thought he had a very, very positive game. And I'm not a big Shador Sanders fan, but I do think he's better than Kenny Pickett and Gabriel. So I'll give him that. Yeah, I thought he did really well. I thought he handled some adversity really well. He did get lucky that one of his throws should have been a pick, went right into the defender's hands, and he dropped it. But other than that, he was pretty encouraging performance from him.
Yeah, and I don't think any play looked too overwhelming for him, which is the first thing that you look for in a quarterback. Like, because we saw Bryce Young in year 1.5, where the moment just seemed too big for Bryce, and he was more afraid of making the mistake than making a play. And somehow that changed. I don't know how that changed overnight, but I'm thankful for that. But hopefully Sanders continues to play with the confidence that he's shown so far.
Yeah, I mean, it was also first week of preseason and against the Panthers defense, who even when healthy isn't that intimidating. So there's that. I would be very curious. Well, I think they play the Eagles this week. I'd be very curious if Sanders gets meaningful time against the Eagles, how well he would do in that scenario. Because if he does do well in that scenario, that's even more encouraging. And I would like to see the Panthers tighten up their defense a little bit as well. They want to compete.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with you on that. As you know, our cornerback was knocked out in a car accident last week with a thumb injury, so he didn't play as well. And yeah, so JC Horn didn't play. And we'll see what the Panthers look like as they continue to remodel their defense, as they pretty much took it down to the studs the last couple of years. All right.
How about they have J.C. Horn and Jimmy Horn?
Yeah, that's what it was confusing me, because I was like, I remember seeing Horn on offense and I'm like, this is kind of confusing at this point, but got it now. But the Niners and the Broncos is our next matchup. Niners don't play their starters, so very little to learn here. As Alex had mentioned earlier, they're going through their injury woes right now, so I don't think they're willing to play anybody that's important to them right now. So I think Jordan James got hurt during this game, and he'll miss a little bit of action with the 49ers. But I learned that the Broncos' backfield could be pretty muddied with Beatty, or Bidet, I think is how he wants it pronounced, and Harvey and Dobbins and McLaughlin and Esteban. Could be a very muddy backfield with those 5 backs, and it seems like Bidet got the lion's share of the carries here, so they're working them.
We're working that bidet.
Yep. Feel like you got a joke there. What were your thoughts on the 49ers and Broncos, if at all?
Do I have any thoughts on this team, on those teams? Thought the 49ers looked pretty poor, except for maybe Mac Jones. Looked good until he threw an interception.
He did throw one of those.
Yeah, and took 2 sacks. Mir Abdullah was looking pretty good until he got hurt. So that was disappointing. I think Jordan Watkins looks good until I think he also got hurt as well. Your boy Robbie Chosen, formerly known as Robbie Anderson, got 1 catch, 1 yard. There you go.
He might be all that's left standing for week 1.
Potentially. Man, I don't know what to make of San Francisco because I think they've got the easiest schedule in the league this year, supposedly, but they just keep falling apart. Like everyone's hurt.
Feels like we have this conversation every year. It doesn't feel like it gets different.
Well, 2 years ago, they were in the Super Bowl.
You aren't wrong.
But yeah. I think RJ Harvey is going to get more playing time this coming preseason game to see what they have in him. I think Audric Estime, I don't know how much longer they are going to keep him on the roster because he just looks slow and sluggish and doesn't look like there's anything to salvage there. Pat Bryant had a couple catches. I would like someone who's compared to Michael Thomas to put up more stats. Troy Franklin, 3 short catches, which was a little surprising to me because I thought he was going to be more of a deep threat. J.K. Dobbins probably gets more run. I would like to see Marvin Mims get more involved because I think outside Cortland Sutton, I think Marvin Mims is the highest chance to be the number 2 wide receiver there for whatever that means because I think 4 guys get rotated. Marvin Mims and Franklin play the same position, and Vele and Pat Bryant play the same position. So those 4 probably get rotated behind Sutton and whatever alignments they have.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I do expect Mims to beat out Franklin at least early on, and I think he could be a value in leagues this year. But
I think I was just going to mention one more guy. Sorry, Trent Sherfield. I think can't for us. He came out of nowhere. For local Broncos guys, apparently they've been talking about him in camp leading up to this that wasn't previously aware of. But I think he's probably direct backup for Cortland Sutton's position.
Yeah, absolutely. But I need to go back to the running back situation of it all. And you know how you say they want to get RJ Harvey more involved this upcoming week? Did you know from February 4th to February 7th every year that RJ Harvey and Tyler Bidet are the exact same age? They'll both be 25 this upcoming year for 3 days before Bidet turns 26. So Bidet's been in the league here for a while, and Harvey is just entering at the crisp age of 24.
I just don't think Bidet is very good.
I know.
So I don't know what.
I understand that, but I'm just saying that their ages are super close, and just because he's the rookie, I don't know if that makes all the sense in the world considering they're the same age.
Wait, Harvey again? Is he 24?
Yeah, and Bidet right now is 25.
J.K. Dobbins is 26.
Okay. So they have a receiver room that are right around the same demographic as far as age goes.
Running back?
Yeah.
Running back room?
Yeah. That's what I meant to say. All right. Anything else on this matchup here?
Nope.
Jets and Packers are next. Fields does play, so he does quiet that toe injury concern, and he actually had a nice scramble for a touchdown. Love looks like he could use some more reps, but as we mentioned before, he's not going to get those reps because he is out for the rest of the preseason. The offense could have looked off as well because they didn't have their top 3 running backs as far as Jacobs, Lloyd, and Wilson. So the run game is a big component here for the Packers. Were there any particular takeaways from this game from you, Alex?
I mean, I thought Braylon Allen looked pretty good, been physical, had a little bit more explosion than I thought he would have. Brees Hall didn't look that great. I see Andrew Beck, who used to be on the Texans. It's making me sad he's not on the Texans right now. But he had 2 catches, 36 yards, and he's fullback. So that's interesting. Not really much of anything from any of the receivers. I would really like to see Malachi Corley do something, but he only had 1 catch for 8 yards.
Even
As
dropped the
far as
ball at the 1 yard
Green,
line.
yeah, and it's not like Green Bay was any better. So this was mostly a snooze fest as far as fantasy purposes.
Yeah. People are raving about Matthew Golden, though. So we'll see what that translates to stats and fantasy production this upcoming year.
I mean, he only had 1 catch in this matchup, but I know they talk about him in practice all the time. Everyone at the Colts practices says A.D. Mitchell's the best wide receiver in camp, and then when the game comes, he only gets 2 catches because the quarterbacks can't get him the ball.
I definitely hear that. All right. Any more on these 2 green teams? All
Nope,
right. We hop
they're
over
very
to
green.
2 red teams now, the Cardinals and the Chiefs here. And all this talk this week has been about Trey Benson. Do you believe that Trey Benson could take the number 1 running job for the Cardinals this year?
I mean, is there a chance? Yes. Is it likely? Probably not. I would say maybe 30%. And that's like Connor has to get hurt for that to happen. Because as much as I would like Trey Benson to win that job, I haven't seen enough of high performance from him to say that's going to happen. But I do think he'll get more touches this year and spell James Conner more.
My other thing here was Kyler Murray was extremely accurate, but I know that we've talked about his deep ball isn't the best, and he had one incompletion, which was a pick. So he technically had 0 incompletions in this game. Every single one of his balls were caught by one team or the other.
His interception was one of the worst interceptions I've ever seen. Like, nowhere near a receiver was trying to get to Marvin Harrison. Kind of like no-looked it straight into a defender. So, personally, I'm done with Kyler Murray, and this isn't going to be a high-functioning offense until Kyler Murray's off the team.
We'll see when that happens. I think we're still 3 to 5 years away from that happening. Alex thinks a trade will happen sooner. We'll see who is right on that one. Right. We got the Titans and the Buccaneers. And in a theme this weekend, I know we talked about it with Sanders a bit, but Ward looked pretty good, as well as almost the entire rookie class looked good this weekend in some way, shape, or form as far as quarterbacks go. And then none of the Buck starters play, except for the rookies and the second-year player, Jalen McMillan. And then, so to rewind to Ward a little bit here, his and Calvin Ridley's connection looked like it could be something. And I think folks are forgetting about Calvin Ridley a little bit this year.
I would like them to keep forgetting him so I can snatch him up.
I have him in a dynasty league that we're in together, and I have extra wide receivers. So if you want to come shop and just give a knock at the door.
Depends on what his cap is and what you're asking for, but yes,
The
I might
world.
be interested.
Always assume the world. It's the same league I traded Julio Jones to you in his last productive year.
I have too many wide receivers in that league.
Dang, I had to try. But Ridley was a Falcon
I
at
think
one
I have
point.
like 11.
That's not good.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's good roster
Yeah.
management. All right. Anything that you noticed from Cam Ward, the Titans offense? I should mention that Tajay Spears got injured in this game, and he's going to miss a couple of weeks as well. Should solidify the Pollard role earlier in the season this year.
I would just like to see more of the young guys get productive. Like Elick Ayamanor. I'd like to see Xavier Restrepo. I would like to see Gunnar Helm and how they do with Cam Ward with more snaps. But other than that, as even though the score was 29-7 Buccaneers, I do think the Titans at least showed life. So they may be more competitive than people think this year, but still a long way from competing in the playoffs. Also, Sean Tucker looked really good. I just want to throw that out there for the Buccaneers, especially with Rashad White having a groin injury. If Rashad White or Bucky Irvin misses any time at all, Sean Tucker is going to have some big weeks for sure.
I know you love your Tucker, so you don't go to bed without your Tucker.
I tucker myself into bed each night.
All right. We can hop over to the Steelers and the Jaguars. And Alex, I must first know how crazy it was watching a 70-yard kick by Cam Little. I almost said Cam Ward, but we just got done with that game. And looks like it had a little bit more leg to go even a little bit further.
Priority waiver wire ad.
I think he's going to be one of the most drafted kickers now this year, but I will say a 70-yard field goal doesn't mean that he's accurate from all ranges or anything like that. He's just flashy right now. So if you want to go follow the flashy thing, go ahead and do it. But
I mean, in leagues that allow you to get to that points or points per yardage, the possibility of getting a 7-point kick is pretty awesome.
that's true. That's true, but how often are they going to be exactly there, exactly needing to go for a kick? Like, I just feel like that was a perfect storm for that scenario, and to recreate that again would be crazy. Speaking of little, there's little to take away from the Steelers players because there was a lot of backups that played in this game. What did you make of Hunter here? It looked like he played a lot more with the first team offense instead of the first team defense. Are you starting to come around to our side that he may be a good offensive player?
He played 2 more snaps on offense and defense, so I wouldn't say that's a lot more.
But I
I
believe it
think it was
was
like 10 to
10.
8.
I believe it was 10 first team offense to 8 second team defense.
Yeah, which means they didn't play him with the first team defense at all. So he didn't play both sides at the same time. So it's not he didn't play starting at either like it with both like he's trying to do. They played him 10 snaps, sat him out of the offense, and then played him with a second team defense. So it wasn't constantly on the field. I honestly thought that Roman Wilson played better than Hunter did. I thought Roman Wilson looked better as a receiver than Travis Hunter did.
Well, he plays one side of the
But
ball, and it's his second year.
Roman Wilson, like you said, second year, and Hunter is a rookie. I just think we're putting way too much expectation on Travis Hunter year one.
He had 2 catches.
So did Roman Wilson. And Roman Wilson had more yardage.
We'll see.
So
I think they're going to feed him early and
pump the
often, though.
brakes. Pump the brakes. We'll see as it progresses and they ramp him up like how he looks. But right now, let's chill a little bit. What was interesting was after all the talk of in training camp, Tank Bigsby is the number 1 running back in camp. Tank Bigsby, Tank Bigsby. The very first rotation was Travis Etienne for the first series, and then Tanks Bigsby for the next 2 series, and then Bashal Tootin in after that. And Tootin is the one who got a touchdown, but he didn't look that great to me. Like, he has the athleticism, he has the speed, but he kept running into the offensive lineman as well. So to me, Tank Bigsby is the best 1-2 thumper out of the group. Etienne is more of the Rashad White type running back, where he's right now he's more of the receiving guy and third down guy. Bashal Tootin is the very fast change of pace guy, in my opinion. And that may change because I know I've heard rumors of them trying to trade Travis Etienne, but I don't think anyone is going to buy at this point. So it's going to be those 3 in some form or fashion, and it's going to be something to watch to see which one is taking over. For the Steelers side, I thought Caleb Johnson looked pretty poor in this game. I know everyone's talking up Caleb Johnson as the next Najee, the next power back, but I saw a back who tried to kick outside every single time and had no push, had no violence, couldn't lower his shoulders. It's the same things I've been saying every single week I talk about him. He's not the power back people think he is. He's an outside zone back. So I wasn't impressed with him at all.
If only someone was arguing how poor Caleb Johnson was before this. But yeah, I hope everyone starts to listen now.
I mean, I've been saying it since the draft process.
I didn't see any receiving ability from him, so that automatically caps what ceiling that you could get, unless you're Derrick Henry, which he's not.
I think he is. Yeah, I think he has some, but he can't pass. He can't pass protect. He's not fast, and he's the big guy that doesn't level anyone. So it makes no sense.
He doesn't really have a spot on the team. All right. So Cowboys and the Rams were the battle of the backups. Did you have any thoughts on the backups that played that night? I really didn't. Either way, I don't even think Garoppolo played.
No, Stetson Bennett played all the quarterback snaps. To me, my favorite player, the best performance of any player in this entire game was center Willie Lampkin. Like, he was the best. He put 4 or 5 Cowboys on the dirt, being a 5'11", 290-pound center. So that's what I enjoyed from this matchup. I did think that Jarquez Hunter was okay. He got the most runs of any individual running back from both teams. Blake Corum actually showed some wiggle for the first time and got 2 touchdowns. I thought Malik Davis and Phil Maffa looked pretty okay from the Cowboys side. Between those 4 running backs, I'm very interested if these teams start to involve them more and if they get a little bit more effective. But other than that, not really impressed with the receiver groups here.
Nope, and obviously there wasn't the best quarterbacks to be slinging it to them either. So just
Yeah.
seems like the Cowboys and the Rams here were like, let's just check a box to play this game. They didn't really care about playing this game.
Yeah.
All right,
All
so
right.
let's hop over to a team that you know a lot about, and the Texans and the Vikings here. I believe you have a Vikings friend, as you mentioned earlier. But JJ McCarthy makes his 2025 debut, and hopefully he can stay a lot more healthy this upcoming year.
I have to say, I thought Sam Howell did a much better job than JJ McCarthy.
Sam Howell's really
Like
good. Like, if he had a coach to
he
bring him
was
in,
slinging it.
but he needs a coach to bring him in and refine him, and he never had that in Washington. And he slung it there, too. He's not
Well,
afraid. He's Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Kevin O'Connell is a coach who coaches up any kind of quarterback.
He's Ryan
They all get a
Fitzpatrick, the
boost.
new one.
Yeah.
You want me to throw 5 interceptions in a game and not care about it next game? That would be Sam Howell.
Well, as far as Houston goes, though, I mean, I thought Mechie had a decent game. Barrios had a good game. Jalen Noel had a couple good catches, but more important to me, the first team offensive line actually held up against Minnesota. And so I found that pretty impressive. And I think the best combination for them is Ursery at left tackle, and that's the second round offensive lineman they just drafted, and Titus Howard at right tackle, and figure out the interior from there. But I was encouraged by the offensive line early on. Davis Mills looks like he's holding up as a good backup, and Slovis and Mertz look like wasted roster space and wasted capital. So
Yeah.
I
I
don't
think
know.
the wide receiver battle is going to be the most interesting, as you had mentioned, because I think the first 4 are locked up with 2 rookies, Kirk and Collins. Now,
And
whether they
then
keep
Mechie, Barrios, Hutchinson,
if they keep
like that's
6 or
pretty tough.
7 is the question, and then what role do they play on special teams, and where can they fill in? Injuries will all fit into this, so it'll be interesting. I think you probably think higher of Hutchinson more than most, but that's normal for living in the area as well.
He went to the same school as Noel and Higgins.
Yeah, I just don't hold them in the same regard as those two, but those two are the fresh present. But
Yep.
what do you make of Jordan Mason playing and Aaron Jones resting in this matchup?
Well, Jordan Mason's in a new offense, so he has to prove he knows the playbook and get used to running with the team. But the coach has said it's going to be a 50-50 split when the regular season starts.
Is that what he said?
1A, 1B. To me, that's 50-50.
Last I know, A became before B. He didn't say 1A and 1A.
Yeah.
Or we
The
got 2
important
ones.
part is the one. The important part is the one, not the letter.
So the alphabet afterwards is just there for show. Got it.
The whole expression, the whole point of 1A, 1B has always been they're the same. And he didn't stipulate who the 1A or who the 1B was, by the way.
We can tell by who started and who didn't this last week.
I mean, the whole reason they say it is it sounds better than co-starters.
We have 2 starters. It's a lot easier than
Yeah.
saying we have 1A and 1B.
No, because when people say you have 2 starters, people will reflexively say then you have 0 starters.
That's
So 1A, 1B, for whatever reason, it works better. That's just how it is.
I still think you see at least a 60-40 split, but we'll see.
We'll see.
Both of them are not the beacons of health either, so we'll definitely see on that.
I mean, but even 60-40 is still a huge step back from some starting running backs out there.
Yeah, I would say with Wilson last year, though, Jones would have been pretty close to 65-70%.
Yeah.
That's all he had last
All
year.
right. Well,
Or wait, he
we
didn't have
have
Wilson.
just
He had Chandler and Akers. He did with Akers last year.
yeah. We have just 3 matchups left, so let's see if we can burn through them. pretty fast here. Giants versus Bills is next, Jeff. Do you want to start this one?
Yeah, I had mentioned this a little while ago, but Jackson Dart looked good in his first preseason performance, as you had alluded to. Um, you have James Cook opting not to play in this game, but we do think there's some resolution coming to that contract issue as he's already returned to practice. The beat writers here are big on the Bills wide receivers and think that they'll have some tough decisions coming out of camp. And I think they have a lot of wide receiver 3s and 4s. Obviously, Shakir is a little bit higher than that, but we'll see if anyone else starts scratching the surface. And I don't know about you, but I've been watching the Bills on Hard Knocks, and a good look at how training camp went and how their first scrimmage went as well.
I want to know, have you changed your tune on Frank Gore Jr. yet? Because he outperformed Ray Davis on every level.
Except for kicking.
Every level. Oh, sorry, he didn't. He didn't have a chance to kick, but you would have beat. He would have beat him there too.
Gotcha. Yeah, so we'll see what happens there, but Ty Johnson appears to be into the plans as well, even though you always wonder why.
Are they gonna keep 4 running backs, do you think?
Yeah, because I think that, I mean, especially if Cook doesn't resign, there's some uncertainty there, especially with how he'll play injured and such.
'Cause I think if they do keep 4, I think Gore makes that list. I don't see Darrington Evans doing that.
No, absolutely not. But they could always be a team that signs a running back off the wire as well. Like, as we had mentioned, the Broncos have 5 that they're looking at right now, and it could always be a surprise.
Yeah. But as far as New York, as far as the Giants here, I really liked Jackson Dart's showing and that touchdown pass. He actually audibled and checked to change that receiver to a go route and then tossed it to him for a touchdown. So to me, that shows not only is he a better deep ball thrower than people gave him credit for in college, he's also good enough to read the defense and switch to a route that works against that defense. So he may be closer to starting than people think. And it just depends on how well Russell Wilson can play to keep him off the field.
Yeah, and I think Russell Wilson has a huge cheat code in Neighbors as well. I think Neighbors can make Wilson look even better than Wilson is if you just chuck it up to him.
Neighbors has been with the trainers a lot this offseason. Seems like every other day he's reported to get worked on. So he might be battling some health stuff.
Absolutely. Are we ready to move on to the Drew Brees matchup?
Yep.
The Saints and the Chargers.
The Drew Brees Bowl.
Yep.
Yeah.
The Brees Bowl. All right. We had already talked about this a little bit, but do you believe that Trey Lance has a legitimate shot to be Herbert's backup this year?
So far, in my opinion, he's been way better than Heineke. So I absolutely think Trey Lance should be the backup. And he fits this offense. He's very reminiscent to a Colin Kaepernick kind of player who played for Harbaugh and Greg Roman. So yeah, I think he's going to be the backup, in my opinion.
All right. I mean, that's really cool. That's a cool turnaround, and it's a little bit of a feather in the cap of Harbaugh turning around this quarterback's life and career. Because we didn't even think he was a third stringer prior to this. So he's throwing with some confidence.
Yeah, it's kind of like a flex from Harbaugh too, because he's like,
Yeah.
look what I can do, Shanahan. I can fix your problems.
Well, and yeah, I mean, as you were just alluding to, which I should spell it out for folks, what team did Lance get drafted by, and what team did Harbaugh get fired by?
San Francisco 49ers.
Yep. So if he can do a reclamation project here with his old team's player that they gave up 3 first-round picks for, that would be a huge gotcha. But Lance is still younger, I believe, than Tyler Shuck, who had an up and down first game here. I do believe overall, like with the rest of the rookies, it was a positive performance. I think from this performance, it's very clear that they want him to win the job. So they're going to give him every shot to win the job. I know practice this week, they've been shuffling it up a little bit, but they wouldn't put the rookie in this position if they didn't want him to win the job. So I think they want him to be the week 1 starter, but they want him to earn it.
Yeah, I think Spencer Rattler looked very rattled this game. So, but I also think the Chargers have an underrated defense. It's not that they have all the best pieces, but I think overall they're pretty coached
And they have a
well.
good
They're pretty
piece
much
at
coached well.
every level as well, or at
They
least good
also, for
veteran.
fantasy purposes, they have a very easy schedule, and first 12 weeks look very, very, very juicy.
Hope I hope Herbert's fully healthy this year, and I hope that he can rush the football and throw as well.
Yeah, they want to use his legs more than he has to date. So that's interesting. And also, Najee Harris, they want him back for week 1, but if he's not back for week 1, they don't plan on leaning on the rookie Amari Hampton. They plan on rotating him with other backs, which means Hassan Haskins and Raheem Sanders probably both make the roster. I doubt Kamani Vidal does. Naheem Miller Hines might make the roster as well. So it's going to be a rotation, apparently.
Yeah,
Do you buy into that, Jeff?
I do, and I also buy into the fact that Harris is on track for week 1 because he did return to team drills today. He's not back at 100%. He's not activated from the pup, but he's participating in what portions of practice that he's allowed to. I mean, actually, he's on the NFI list because it was a firework injury.
I heard he has an eye that's sewn shut at the moment.
Who'd you hear that from? His mom?
No, the reporters out there say his eye is literally closed, but it's part of the healing process, I think.
Yeah, I think he'll be fine by week 1. I don't think there's been any alarm bells or they haven't signed any additional backs of note. Like, I know they signed Miller Hines, but I think that was for
And
special teams.
no one has been able to snag a picture of him head on without like a visor on or anything. So that's interesting.
Well, there's a lot of players I haven't seen a picture from them straight on this year.
Yeah, but you know everybody wants to see it. Everybody.
I bet you he's got good pictures. It reminds me
Yeah.
a little bit of David Njoku when he had the burn that one year when he played with like 3rd-degree burns on his face or something
Yeah.
crazy like that. All right. Yeah, I guess the backup job is the race for the Saints right now with Rattler and see if Taysom Hill ever makes a bounce back. And
Unfortunately for all the teams that need a quarterback, it looks like Manning may in fact stay in college 2 years unless they win the national championship, which I think he would go.
I tell you, this is why tanking doesn't make any sense because you have no guarantee that a top guy that you want is coming out. Zero guarantee. We got luck going back to Stanford when we had the number 1 pick, so that's fun.
It's okay. Whenever the Texans get the number 1 overall pick, the best player is a defensive player. There's not a good quarterback.
Unless their name is Carr.
Carr wasn't a good quarterback. I would have taken Julius Peppers over him at the time, let alone in hindsight.
Didn't you have the number 1 pick the year Derek Carr came out as well?
We had the number 1 pick when we took Clowney.
Yep. And you refused to take Derek Carr because of your experience with David Carr.
I think that was correct.
Because I think he went at 201 to a team.
I wanted Khalil Mack. I didn't want Clowney. I thought Clowney was lazy in college and a quitter, and Khalil Mack was just all motor.
Yep.
And I think I was right about that.
Absolutely. All right. Anything to wrap up the Chargers and the Saints?
There's nothing else with that game.
Oh, great.
Let's wrap up with the final matchup, right? The Miami Dolphins versus Chicago Bears.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff, what were your takeaways from this matchup?
I was just going to transition with Khalil Mack on this because this was the team that actually drafted Khalil Mack, the Chicago Bears.
The Raiders were.
Or wait, no.
The Raiders were.
Oh yeah, this is Mack's 3rd team with the Chargers. Wow. So it went Raiders, Bears, Chargers.
Yep.
But the Bears here don't play any starters except for their rookies, which is pretty standard with teams right now. So it's really hard to get a read on what Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams will be this year. Caleb Williams should be getting the reps with Ben Johnson, but it's interesting that they decided not to start the second year quarterback here. Do you find that interesting as well?
No, not at this point. But you said they didn't play any starters, but they played Case Keenum. So
Yeah, absolutely. I would have rather seen Caleb Williams though, right over my head.
I know that you're a big Kyle Monaghan fan, and he played in this game. What do you think about that, Jeff?
I think Alex shouldn't nominate him so early in dynasty drafts, so I have to spend. But
I like how you said, "Oh, you did it so early." And I'm like, I had two roster spots left, and I had Swift, so obviously I wanted Monagai because I tell you multiple times I'm a handcuff guy when it comes to deep, deep dynasty leagues that have 24 roster spots or more. I'm going to handcuff, especially when I'm not super solid with the starter. And you're like, oh, you should have waited. When? Should I have just sat there for an hour and a half and not filled my roster and get off as quickly as possible? You're like, why did you do that? That was such a dick move. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm not doing them to get you, Jeff. I'm doing them to actually get the player.
you nominate a player that you think other people might bid up there to spend some money, but instead it turned into a bidding war.
Yeah, I didn't expect it to get up that high, but then again, you also bid 15 million per year for Bucky Irving last year when you could have drafted him in the third round. So
I started drafting Kyle there, didn't I?
yeah, you got him at least one league.
This is
I
my
don't know
third
when
league
you
that I got
changed
him
your
in now.
yeah, you just like at some point just pivoted. You weren't interested, and then all of a sudden you're like, I think he's the best thing since Bucky Irving last year.
He's a guy that I jotted down as soon as I started hearing Ben Johnson talk about him, and I was like, huh, they don't really have anything that I love in Chicago right now. So I was like, all right, I got to take note of this.
You know that coach speak handle on X?
Yep.
He's the guy that keeps track of everything coaches say throughout all their pressers and everything like that. Not a single person to date has asked a single question about Roshan Johnson.
Really? Is his time coming to an end?
I don't know what's up, man. Some people suggest that he could be a goal line back, but at the same time,
Ben Johnson's already moved
I
on
haven't
from
seen
Swift
anything.
once.
I don't know. I think Swift might not necessarily be his doing. It might have been a contract thing and managing the roster, or they might have been concerned he wasn't staying healthy. But I think he's a good fit for this offense. I don't think that they're going to be in very many positive game scripts, so I think they'll be playing from behind, and he's the best receiving back. So I think he could have a big year if he stays healthy.
Fingers crossed.
But
Were you surprised that the Dolphins played their starters in this one? They looked pretty decent when the starters were out there, but no Hill and Waddle, of course. Those are the two cash
I think
cows.
they needed I think they needed to because of all the questionable questions about their toughness over the past few years. So I really do think that they needed to. Honestly, what I was most surprised by was Ollie Gordon actually looking good. I know his 2024 season in college wasn't that great. In his 2023, he looked like he was going to be a potential top pick. So it's interesting to see him do that well with Miami. I do think
Absolutely.
Taj Washington will also maybe earn a better role as well. But even Westbrook and Kine had that one long pass that
I
he
saw
caught
it.
too.
He might be a touchdown machine again. Johnny Smith,
Yeah, Johnny Smith's gone, and all they have is wide receivers.
Darren Waller.
He might not make the team, man. Come on, be real.
I might win that bet with Ferguson because Ferguson's already battling some injuries in camp.
I think Ferguson's fine.
He better be. All right, that's what I have for
Yeah,
the preseason week one matchups. I know this was a little long winded, and I appreciate everyone staying with us here.
yep. It's a longer episode, so we'll go ahead and end it. But we'll have another episode for you recapping week two next week. Well, that does it for this episode of the Never Too Early Fantasy Football Podcast. Thank you all for downloading and listening to this episode, and please don't forget to like and subscribe. Please leave us a comment and share the show. Every little bit helps.
You can find us on all podcasting apps by searching N2 Fantasy, and with our handle N2E Fantasy on all social media platforms. Please join our community and give us a follow. Until next time, take care of yourselves and remember, it's truly never too early for fantasy football. Thank you again.
Bye, everybody.